Welcome back to History Trivia, ang kasaysayan na dapat mong malaman. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the ghost British officer na isa sa mga naging daan upang matalo ang mga Nazi noong World War II.
History Trivia, ang kasaysayan na dapat mong malaman. Kung mahilig ka sa kwento ng nakaraan, sining, giyera at agham, huwag kalimutang mag-subscribe at pindutin ang notification bell para dalhin ka rin ang aking kwento sa nakaraan.
At noong 1943, nagplano ang mga puwersa magkaalyado na kinabibilangan ng Britain, France, Canada, USA at Australia na maglunsad ng opensiba sa isla ng Sicily sa Italy upang mapabagsak ang fascist regime ng nooy Prime Minister ng Italy na si Benito Mussolini na sumusuporta sa mga Nazi sa digmaan. Upang siguraduhin magtagumpay ang pagsalakay, nagplano ang dalawang opisyal ng British intelligence na dayain ang mga Nazi at ilayo ang kanilang kaalyado mula sa baybayin ng Italy. Si Charles Cholmondeley at Captain Ewan Montague ay nagdesisyon na ilagay ang isang patay na katawan na nakasuot ng uniforme ng British Royal Marines sa tabi ng baybayin ng Espanya. At sa panahong iyon, pinamumunuan ng diktador na si Francisco Franco ang Espanya. At bagamat opisyal na neutral ito sa digmaan, nagbibigay ito ng impormasyon sa mga Nazis. Ang Bangkay ay may dalang briefcase na puno ng mga dokumento na tila mga top secret na nagpapahiwatig na ang susunod na target ng mga magkaalyadong bansa ay ang Greece, which had been occupied by the Italians and Nazis since 1941, and a different Italian island, Sardinia. At ang operasyong ito ay tinawag nilang Operation Mincemeat. At saan naman nila nakuha ang idea ng Operation Mincemeat? The origins of Operation Mincemeat can be linked back to a document generated by the Naval Intelligence Department or NID of the Royal Navy. During the early stages of the war, Rear Admiral John Godfrey served as the head of NID and issued a memo that would later become renowned as the Choute Memo. The actual writer of the Choute Memo was Godfrey's assistant, Ian Fleming, who gained a post-war fame as a spy novelist. The memo draws an analogy between deceiving the enemy and the art of fly fishing, which is how it got its distinctive title. Remember this guy, Ian Fleming. Fleming proposed a list of deceptive strategies aimed to fooling the Germans, and the 28th item on the list involved intentionally allowing the Germans to discover a corpse carrying counterfeit plans. The idea was marked as a suggestion, which means not a very nice one. The concept was later adopted by Charles Cholmondeley, a tall and nearsighted officer in the Royal Air Force, assigned to MI5, Britain's counter-espionage agency. Cholmondeley took on the role of secretary for the XX Committee. Ito ang tawag nila sa grupo na nagplano ng Operation Mincemeat, which was formed in January 1941. This committee comprised representatives from various military intelligence agencies, including the Naval Intelligence Department or NID, MI5, and the Secret Intelligence Services or SIS, commonly known as MI6. Sir John Masterman, an Oxford scholar and historian, was the committee chairman. Interestingly, Masterman was also a writer of detective novels. Cholmondeley presented a modified version of Fleming's concept to the XX committee, involving a scenario where a corpse would appear to have drowned in an aircraft crash at sea. The idea was partly inspired by a natural air crash that occurred a month earlier in September 1942, although the committee initially rejected the proposal. Chairman Masterman found it intriguing and appointed Ewan Montague, the NID representative, to collaborate with Cholmondeley and further refine the plan. Montague, from an aristocratic background, had been a rising star in the British legal system and had tried several notable cases as a barrister. The partnership of Cholmondeley and Montague turned out an excellent match, as both men were highly intelligent and also remarkably creative. Lumaki ang Mincemeat team habang kinakailangan ng espesyalisadong kaalaman sa iba't ibang larangan. Si Montague ay naghanap ng pinakamahusay na pathologist ng panahon na iyon. And if you don't know what a pathologist is, they are a medical healthcare provider who examines bodies and body tissues. At ito na nga, nahanap niya si Sir Bernard Spilsbury upang tulungan sa paghanap ng isang bangkay. And of course, may mga bagay talaga na dapat nilang isaalang-alang. Number 1, dapat ang bangkay nasa tamang edad. Number 2, dapat ito ay kamamatay lamang. Ito ay mas naging mahirap kaysa sa inaasahan, hanggang sa natagpuan sa isang morgue si Glinder Michael, isang homeless 34-year-old man mula sa Wales na namatay dahil sa pagkain ng rat poison. Nagkaroon ng malalimang pag-usisa sa kung gaano kalalim ang autopsy at kung makikita ang lason. And yes, Glinder Michael became that hero corpse. So ano nga ba ang nangyari at mga plano nila? They named the Ghost Marine officer as Major William Martin. And here are the things they needed. Number 1 is the vital document. This letter from General Sir Archibald Nye Vice Chief of the Imperial Defense Committee, to General Harold Alexander, the highest-ranking British general in North Africa, addresses increasing forces for the upcoming attack on Greece and Crete, which was, a false attack, and the use of an invasion of Sicily, which is the true attack, as a diversion to fool the Germans into not reinforcing Greece. Si Major Martin kumbaga ang magiging letter sender kay General Alexander. And then the second letter, written by Louis Mountbatten from Combined Operations to Admiral Cunningham, Mediterranean Fleet Commander, introduces Major Martin as an amphibious landing specialist. This letter acknowledges the recent failed landings at Dieppe, France, and includes a humorous reference to sardines. Montagu believed the Germans would find this letter credible because it openly admitted the failure at Dieppe in the sardine joke, and the sardine joke hinted at invasion of Sardinia instead of the more obvious target Sicily. Many Italian high-ranking officers also believed Sardinia would be the next landing site due to these clues, as Sicily seemed too obvious. And of course, in order for the Germans to believe it was authentic, they needed to make Major Martin a human. They needed a photograph of Major Martin in an ID, which was a bit of a problem for them at that time. They tried to take a photo of the corpse, but it didn't go too well. Because whatever they do, a corpse will always look like corpse. So they had to look for a person that has exact resemblance as Glinder. Fortunately, when they were in a bar, they saw a man who looked exactly like him, and his photo was taken and posted on Major Martin's ID. So ayun, problem 1 solved. Another thing for it to be authentic, Major Martin must have a romantic relationship. They needed to find a photograph of Major Martin's fiancée. So yes, they made up a story about Major Martin's personal life, particularly his fiancée by the name of Pam. And a secretary at MI5 named Jean Leslie provided a photo of her from years back to be Pam. Problem number 2 solved. Last things are receipt for an engagement ring and a theater ticket stub, which was easy to get when you are in government. Bago nila nilagay ang mga sulat at dokumento sa bag ni Major Martin, may mga nilagay silang mga bagay na magiging palatandaan na nabuksan at nabasa ito ng Spanish at German officers, tulad na lamang ng eyelashes. Kung nawala ito sa loob ng envelope, marahil ay nabasa nga nila. All of the components of the plan came together in April 1943, and exactly on April 17, 1943, Montagu and Cholmondeley prepared the deceased body and placed it inside a specially designed steel container filled with dry ice. They then loaded the container into a van driven by St. John, also known Jock Horsfall, a former successful race car driver from pre-war Britain. The 3 individuals then traveled rapidly to a naval base in Greenock, Scotland, where they embarked the body and container onto HMS Seraph submarine. Seraph set sail on the 19th and reached the coast of Spain by April 29th. The submarine's officer discreetly disposed of the body into the ocean, as the crew had been instructed to stay below deck, believing the canister contained a classified meteorological device. Ang mga bangkay ay dinala ng alon sa baybayin ng Huelva, Espanya, at natuklasan ito ng mga mangingisda ng umaga ng ika-30 ng Abril 1943. Pinili ang Huelva dahil sa ilang kadahilanan. Ang mga lokal na alon ay malakas, sapat upang itulak ang bangkay pabalik sa baybayin. At sa Huelva, may German consulate office na may competent vice consul at isang officer na nag-ooperate. Ang mga lokal na opisyal ng militar sa Espanya ay pro-German at malamang na ibigay ang mga kopya ng mga mahalagang dokumento sa mga Nazi. At bukod dito, umaasa ang Mincemeat team na hindi gaanong bihasa ang lokal na koronel kumpara sa mga doktor sa mas malalaking syudad. Sa huli, itinuturing na maasahan at may kakayahan ang lokal na British consul. And the waiting game happened. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. On May 1, 1943, an autopsy was carried out in the presence of Francis Hazelden, the British consul, to prevent a thorough examination. Hazelden urged the doctor conducting the autopsy to expedite the process, citing the day's heat and the smell of the corpse. The following day, a funeral with military honors was conducted. The Spanish Navy retained the briefcase that had been attached to Major Martin's wrist, leading to frantic communications between Germany and Spain over the next 9 days, with Germany requesting copies of the briefcase contents. Simultaneously, there were exchanges of messages between London and Hazelden, with London urging Hazelden to recover the case before the highly secret contents to be revealed to the Germans. The messages to Hazelden were encoded, although it was a code that the British knew the Germans had deciphered earlier in the war. Ultimately, on May 11, the briefcase was returned to Hazelden and subsequently sent to London in a diplomatic bag. Once back in London, an examination of the letters revealed small clues, indicating that the letters had been removed using small steel rods, on which the letters were rolled without breaking the envelopes. Montagu mentioned in his memoir that from May to July 1943, he and the Mincemeat team had nothing to rely on for the success of the operation, other than German thoroughness. However, this was not entirely accurate, as code breakers at Bletchley Park were intercepting and decrypting German communications about the shifting of troops from Italy to Greece. As early as May 14, 1943, during a meeting with Admiral Karl Donitz, Adolf Hitler stated that Sicily was not the next target, and emphasized the need to reinforce Greece and Sardinia. Consequently, he ordered the movement of divisions and reinforcement from France and Italy to these regions. Even when the invasion of Sicily commenced on July 9, 1943, Hitler seemingly believed that a major attack was still imminent in Greece. Great Britain, together with allied countries, attacked Sicily, while the German Nazi army attacked Greece and Sardinia. Si Major William Martin ay nagsalba sa buhay ng libu-libong mga sundalo at eventually naging daan para matalo ang mga Nazi sa gyera. Operation Mincemeat has been a critical strategic move noong World War II. And do you remember this man who created the idea? It was Ian Fleming. He is the same man who wrote the story of the most famous fictional spy in the world, na walang iba kundi si Mr. 007. My name is Bond. James Bond. And kung gusto nyo maintindihan maigi ang Operation Mincemeat, they already published a movie about this, which I encourage you to watch. I hope you like this video, and if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell para updated ka sa aming mga videos. My name is Jay, your James Bond for today, saying we have all the time in the world. Cheers, mate.